Now, there's no doubt about it that a lot of fans have been very much critical over Bob Iger taking over Chapek, because Iger was the guy, by the way, that allowed Kathleen Kennedy to do whatever she wanted to do with the sequel trilogy movies and a lot of other projects before in the past, and exactly how that all rolled into the ultimate division of the Star Wars fandom and the entire community around the globe. So that's one major reason why a lot of fans are really not all that excited about Bob Iger calling the shots now. But what is great on the flip side of the coin is that John and Dave have a lot of privileges over at Lucasfilm, and they have a lot of control creatively and even financially over a lot of upcoming shows and even films currently in the early development phase. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe between George, John, and Dave is that they really are trying to take aspects from Star Wars Legends that we have never seen before in live-action form. That's basically what they're trying to do with Ahsoka, Mando 4, Mando Season 3, which by the way comes out this March. We don't have that much longer to wait for that. And so far, so good with the Bad Batch Season 2. They're doing a solid job on that show. Very good animated series. But the thing about everything related to John and Dave is that they basically are trying to wipe everything out that Kathleen Kennedy really embedded within the roadmap, and even Bob Iger has been very busy on really kind of creating a clean slate for the Star Wars franchise. So let's get right into it of what Bob Iger recently did to Kathleen Kennedy and why Kennedy is not all that happy about what recently went down. So, with many new Star Wars TV shows in the works by Disney CEO Bob Iger, he is beginning to focus on films again for fans, with John and Dave also expanding the roadmap for the community. However, just recently Bob Iger made a very important call and decision for the fandom by canceling something substantial that Kathleen Kennedy greenlit quite a while ago. Now, this project that Iger canceled was said to be a whole new trilogy by Kennedy that was going to focus on the High Republic era, something that Chapek was in the process of canceling, however did not get to finalize the plans for that. Iger picked up where Chapek left off and ended a High Republic trilogy just recently that was going to focus on a slate of Star Wars movies that would focus away from Star Wars, of course, actual wars and battles. Even conflicts were going to be absent from these movies. So let me just pause here quick. This would have been a disaster in the making. There's no doubt about it that taking wars and battles out of a Star Wars movie, let alone a trilogy, I think it would have drove a lot of fans away, and it would have been the final nail in the coffin right there. There's no doubt about it at all. Now, when you look at what John and Dave are crafting, they realize that there always needs to be a conflict or some kind of battle brewing in the background, and that's basically what they are doing with Mando Season 3, the Ahsoka series, and a whole lot more. But for a whole trilogy of movies, to have no wars, no battles, no threats or conflicts, it would have been a terrible situation for Disney, and Bob Iger, I gotta say, he made the right call by taking this finally once and for all off the roadmap, so that it never sees the light of day and then it never gets made, even when Kathleen Kennedy gets out. Because let's not forget, there's still a lot of stuff that is greenlit by Kathleen Kennedy that needs to go through the process of cancellation. And that's why Iger is very busy, shifting the roadmap around, working very closely with John and Dave on all of this, and a lot more to do with what shows are going to come out before certain movies and or after other movies. So that brings us to the next big thing here, is why Iger did this also. Now, the other reason why Iger did this is that he's creating room for other Star Wars films. Again, we talked about this, of how Iger wants to get to a goal of releasing 2 Star Wars movies a year, where it's going to alternate, where you're going to have, perhaps, for example, a trilogy-oriented film in May, and then a solo one-off oriented movie in the fall. give or take like November or December, leading into the winter. Something like that is what Iger wants to do. And then each and every year, it would be a different trilogy movie, per se, alternating to fulfill each and every trilogy, and of course those one-off movies. That's what Chapek, of course, wanted to do in the beginning, but that's what Iger is now picking up on and speeding it up quite a bit drastically to get to that point as fast as possible. Some fans may be very worried about this because it may be rushing into things way too fast, but listen, as long as it's a very quality-driven project, that's all that matters. And that's exactly why John and Dave are on board, to make sure that everything is going to be quality. Now, moving on, the new films by Kennedy were going to embrace threats from the environment in each Star Wars film that would need the help of Jedi and Force sensitives. The films are going to include Geode the Rock as one of the main characters, as well as bringing back Master Yoda into the story during this time in the Jedi Order. Now, Kennedy wanted to also make these movies undo all the traditions of the franchise and to embrace the transformation of the actual brand into something completely different. Now, just recently, Iger canceled all of this together, and Kennedy is very angry over what recently happened to these movies, getting wiped out, of course, from the roadmap for 2023. Now, the thing about Kennedy is that this is somebody that only uses the Star Wars franchise as a way to kind of boost her ego, or to kind of just put out her own projects and use the Star Wars label to get the traction that she needs to get her projects known. That's what it comes across like to me. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel with The Acolyte, that's how I feel with Skeleton Crew. Both shows, by the way, are really wiping out George Lucas's philosophy, his overall vision of what Star Wars really is, what it stands for. And that's why you have John and Dave coming on board to help fix a couple of scenes. They have been ordered by the Disney board members to help all of that, to kind of regulate those shows, to prevent them from being total, flops or disasters. So, obviously, here we are. It is 2023 already. It's crazy. And we only have about a year and a half until we get to have Mando Season 4, where things are really going to pick up like big time. That's where John and Dave tease that Mando 4 is going to be like a next level step when it comes to Star Wars television. And I could not be more excited, because it's not just going to be about Din and Grogu, it's also going to be about Luke and all the Skywalker-oriented characters that you know and love, and a lot of other surprises. So, overall, I think that Bob Iger really, if he continues to make good decisions like this, he may, and only may, just get the credit that he deserves as a proper CEO by handling the franchise properly, and maybe then he'll actually get a lot of love from the fans and a lot of support. It all comes down to one thing, being very genuine and honest. If he's just going to do this for damage control, it's not going to last. So that's why he's really trying to make sure that John and Dave do their jobs well, and that they're doing it out of pure passion, and that's what they're doing. So overall, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.